So last week, OpenAI dropped their agent builder and everyone's been going crazy over how easy it's becoming to make custom AI agents. But nobody's answering the real question, which is, can it actually handle production level work for real businesses? Or are we all just drowning in hype again? To put this theory to the test, I jumped into Agent Builder and made a real estate lead gen agent based on actual projects I've done for clients. This agent sorts inbound leads, answers questions from agency docs, books appointments, and even delivers free lead magnets through a custom widget. I'm not here to hype the tech or push AgentKit. I wanted to see if this can do what my team and I are already building for real clients. If you're new here, I'm Mike. I've spent the last 2 years deep in the AI industry, and now I design AI agents for real estate pros and businesses that need real-world results, not just shiny toys. By the end of this video, you'll know whether OpenAI's agent builder is actually worth using for your business, what it's capable of, and what this all means for anybody who's interested in adopting AI agents in 2025 and beyond. So let's get straight into it. So at the time of me recording this video, OpenAI's agent builder has only been around for about a week. And despite that, there's been a literal tsunami of hype going on YouTube and other social media platforms about what this all means, what OpenAI's move was behind this, and what it really means for people who want to start using more AI agents in their businesses. So to cut through all of this hype, I decided to build this agent that you guys see on screen right here, and in a second I'm going to take you through a live demo to show you exactly what this is capable of. And after that, I'll take you guys deeper into Agent Builder itself to show you how this compares to actual client projects I've done, and in the end I'll give you my verdict on whether or not it's actually worth jumping into AgentKit to start building your own AI agents to handle things like lead gen, customer service, and so on. So with that said, let's not waste any time and jump straight into a demo of this agent I built here. So this lead gen agent is actually designed to handle a few different use cases, but I'm going to take you through two right now. This first one is me actually coming in as a buyer. So to kick things off here, I'm just going to be telling the agent that I'm looking to buy a place in Malibu, and I essentially came across their agency and am interested in seeing what the buying process looks like. So with that said, let's get this sent off and see how our agent here handles this. And if I zoom out here for a second, you'll be able to have a better idea of what's going on behind the scenes. So one of the things that I like about AgentKit so far is that it really allows you to add a lot of features on the back end. And in addition to that, all of the reasoning behind the agent here is visible on screen. The entire thought process is transparent, and you have an opportunity to take a look at every step that this agent's going through for every message and every step within your workflow. All right, so after a little bit of reasoning, we actually got our response here. So let's zoom in and take a look at what's going on. So essentially what I just got back from my agent is an overview of the entire process that this specific real estate agency is actually going through with buyers. And just for some context, I gave the agent this document on this specific real estate agency, and it managed to directly pull some of our buyer processes from this document. And because I actually expressed interest here, the agent's also proposing to book a call with me, and it actually pulled a few times from my calendar to actually propose a private call booking. Now I included a neat little feature in here where the user can actually go through the whole booking process right here. So if I click approve right here, and after some reasoning here, the agent provided me with a little bit more info and also requested my name, the date slot, and my email to actually book the meeting in. And in order to finalize this booking, all I have to do is give the agent my information here, get that sent off, and then it'll tap directly into my calendar, run the entire process, and actually get me booked for an appointment. Now, if I crack open my test calendar here, I could actually come over to Thursday the 16th, and we could see that a new event has been created, which is a discovery meeting with John at 10:30 a.m. If you're curious about getting ahead with AI but don't know where to start, I'm putting together a private community just for you. Inside, you'll find exclusive courses, Q&As with me, a library of AI agents you can use today, and a growing collection of other resources that give you everything you need to start scaling your business and start saving 5 or more hours every single week with AI within about 90 days. If that sounds interesting, go ahead and hit my first link down below to get access completely for free. Or if you're a business owner or real estate pro and you're curious about adopting AI and ironing out your AI strategy without the headache, then hit link number 2 to book a one-on-one call with me and my team. Anyways, let's get straight back into the video. Now, obviously this is a really simple use case, but it just demonstrates how we can really tap into the lead gen capabilities of OpenAI's agent builder here. But to show you another really cool feature I baked into this agent, I'm going to actually start a new chat and pretend like I'm just browsing for information here. So in this case, businesses get all sorts of leads and you don't want to let any slip through the cracks. And I'm just going to be asking the agent what my options are for somebody who's interested in potentially moving out to LA. And because this is very open-ended, we'll be able to see how the agent processes this and everything that it's really considering behind the scenes here logic-wise. And because I was a browser, I got routed to the browser agent right here, which gets lit up in blue when it's processing. And after a bit of reasoning, the agent came back to me with a response, which gives me all sorts of options from our agency docs on what I can do if I'm looking at the LA market. What I really wanted to show you guys was this little widget feature that I used here. So for anybody who's a new potential lead, I actually have a setup here where where I can give them some free offers. And this is a fantastic little lead magnet offer, and let me just show you exactly how this works. So when I hit approve here, the agent will process my request here, and it'll actually load up this widget right here that actually shows me an entire list of free offer resources that this agency can give out to anybody like me who's looking for information. And obviously I could build this out more, so whenever I hit get on one of these options here, as a lead I could get taken straight to this resource. Alright, so now that we've actually looked at a live demo of how this agent can work, and we've seen some of its capabilities when it comes to answering questions, booking in appointments, and even giving away free lead magnets, let's actually take a deeper dive into this platform so I could show you what's going on behind the scenes, how Agent Builder is actually changing the AI space right now, and whether or not we can actually use this for our real production use cases. So at this point, I'm sure you've had a chance to take a look around Agent Builder yourself, and in case you haven't, in my opinion, it reminds me a lot of the early versions of VoiceFlow when I first started working on it. The tools that are available to us are pretty basic, but they allow us to accomplish quite a few different things, and as I go through this build, we'll be able to demonstrate some of what we can accomplish here. So first up, every workflow that we build has a start node here, and from here we can really branch off into any direction that we want to. And because this is a lead gen agent, I decided to start off with a jailbreak guardrail before we get passed into our workflow, just to keep things as safe as possible. And for this case, all I did was select the jailbreak option here and then set my model to actually work on this process for me. Now this step here makes it super easy to use guardrails, and anytime a user is actually interacting with your agent, we'll be able to pass every message that they send through this safety step here to prevent anybody from hacking into your agent. And this just makes it super easy to accomplish that. So assuming that the workflow passes and the person isn't attempting to jailbreak your agent, what I set up here is a classifier agent with a very simple prompt here. I've prompted this agent to either classify new leads as buyers, sellers, or browsers. And this is really going to allow us to refine our workflow as we go on and make sure that we're capturing all of our opportunities the way that we need to. And in comparison to the actual client projects that I've built so far, both these guardrails and the simplicity of these agent creation tools are pretty impressive to me on an initial impression. And because we're actually using a classification agent, the output that we're going to be setting in this case is going to be JSON. Agent Builder has an interesting way of setting this up, which actually allows us to configure our own response schema. And essentially all I'm doing to accomplish this is creating a brand new property, which is where our agent is going to save our final output to classify each lead. And in this case, all I had to do was set a simple description as to which categories I'd like to set this lead for, and then simply input the actual categories in this window below for our agent to really choose from. And once we generate that output, we're going to have an if-else block, which is essentially the same thing that you'd see in condition blocks in AnyDen. And since we have 3 options in our lead classifier agent, we're going to be passing those exact 3 options onto our if-else block. So just to show you what I'm talking about here, every time you want to add a new category to create a new pathway, you have to hit this add below button right here. You can name your case right here just to keep everything organized in the same way that I did, which will definitely help in production cases. And then to actually route the system along the right pathway, once you click into this box here, you'll be able to see the previous outputs from the nodes that we were just working on. So in this case, for lead classifier agent, we're going to be coming down here to this opportunity string, which is going to be pulling in our output from that agent. And in this case, AgentKit will drop this little string of code in for us, and then from there we could choose from all of these different comparisons and logic steps. And let's just say I was creating a buyer pathway here. I would just put in a double equal sign, and then in quotations I would simply add in the correct category that I generated in my lead classifier agent. And keep in mind that these are all case sensitive as well, so everything has to be word for word exactly what it was in your previous step. And now because everybody has different ways of handling every individual lead, so in this case for this agency, we want to handle buyer and seller lead different from one another, so we'll have a specific agent dedicated directly to answering these specific questions. So all of these agents that I've set up here are relatively simple, but let me take you through each one just so you guys can get a better idea of what's going on behind the scenes. So if you're familiar with another platform like AnyDen, then you'll know that Agent Builder makes AI agent creation a lot easier and a lot more straightforward. However, it is slightly more limited than what you'd be able to accomplish there. And to demonstrate both of these points, let me just take you through how I put this agent together and what everything looks like on the back end. So here I have a very simple system prompt for this specific agent. And for this prototype here, I'm keeping the prompts very simple, but essentially I'm just assigning a role to this agent to act as a luxury real estate agent for the Sunset Group that has a specialty in speaking with buyer leads, answering questions, and then guiding them along the correct processes here. Task-wise, I'm telling the agent what tools it has access to. So in this case, we have our doc search tool to answer some agency-specific questions. We also have access to a web search tool. We also have access to an N8N booking MCP to actually pull calendar times from my Google Calendar. And we'll get deeper into that in a second here. But in reality, we can make these prompts as simple or complex as we really need to. And OpenAI really makes experimentation easy here because you could simply come in here and change your model setup. You could test different models with different prompts and see how they perform against each other. You can also change your reasoning effort. I keep mine either low or medium, depending on the weight of the task that we're actually trying to accomplish here. And all of that ends up being pretty straightforward. But one of the biggest shortcomings of Agent Builder that I've come across so far is the lack of tool integration here. So for example, if I wanted to add a tool, the only option to create a custom tool is through an MCP server. And at the moment, Agent Builder doesn't have that many integrations for us to work with here. And of the ones that it does have, let's just say for Google Calendar, for example, all we can do is search events and fetch event details. We can't actually book events or do a lot of other basic things like check availability. So the best way to get around this at the moment is to actually jump back into N8N and create your own MCP server. Now, because OpenAI's Agent Builder is still in its early phases, connecting tools like this does have an extra few steps to actually go through if you want to do things like book events, send emails, or even access external tools. And because we have to end up coming back into N8N anyways to start building some of these custom tools, at the moment I'd say that Agent Builder isn't going to be that robust, but considering what it is at this point in time, I do anticipate OpenAI coming out with other updates in the future to overcome some of these issues and increase the level of complexity that we can really handle here. And in reality, I wouldn't doubt that eventually it will rival N8N, but at the moment this is the only way we can actually check availability and do calendar bookings. So just to show you guys how I added this, after I created my MCP server trigger here in N8N and added my check openings and book event tools with Google Calendar, I came back into Agent Builder, created a new MCP tool, hit server. This is where I'd paste in my webhook from my MCP server itself in N8N, which you could find in here once you go into your MCP server itself. Then after that, all you have to do is give your server a name, a short description, and for authentication, you could just select none just to keep things easy. And after that, once you hit connect, your N8N MCP tool will show up and it'll look something like this right here. And as long as you mention it by name in the actual prompt here, then the agent will know how to use it and how to connect to it. Now, even though this does make it a little bit of a hassle to add extra tools, there are a few tools that OpenAI makes it super easy to add, and one of them is actually our vector search tool. Now, in order to get the agent to search through this specific document that I showed you guys in the intro, all I had to do was come in here, add a file search component, and then once I was in here, all I had to do is update my Sunset Group AI knowledge base, attach it to the agent, and just like that, we have a very simple vector search setup for our agent to actually process specific document information. And in a similar way, if you want to add a web search tool, this is also super easy. All you need to do is add it. You can leave everything here completely blank if you want to. Otherwise, if you're working within a specific region for the business you're working on, like in my case, if we want to limit our web searches to California, USA, and change our context size, then that'll really help us to refine what our web search tool is going to look like here. And just to keep things quick here, if we take a look at our seller agent here, then it's going to be very similar to what we were just looking at with our buyer agent. I was able to get a very brief prompt going here that gets straight to the heart of what this agent is really looking for. Just for demonstration purposes, these really brief prompts work just fine for us. But once we move beyond proof of concept, then we can actually build these prompts out a lot further and actually determine how we handle buyer leads versus seller leads in the long term here. But anyways, this next step here is actually taking advantage of another one of AgentKit's tools, which is the user approval. Now, this is something that's really easy to set up. All it is a binary approve/reject module, and we can simply add in any message that we want here. So in this case, this is asking for user approval to simply see if they're interested in booking an appointment from this stage. Now, if they reject, well, they'll simply get routed to a follow-up agent that's asking if they need any help with anything else, which is pretty self-explanatory. On the other hand, if they accept, then we'll hand off directly to a booking agent, which also has access to our N8N booking MCP, which is located here, as we were speaking about before. And again, I just kept the prompt super simple here just to allow us to let Agent Builder here communicate with our MCP server, which connects into our Google Calendar and gets our events booked here. And essentially, as long as we mention our tool by name, then assuming you follow these guidelines, you don't have to let things get too complex here. You can also come in here and add some bullet points for instructions on how you want the appointments to be booked and how you want the agent to respond to the user after they've actually booked that appointment here. But again, we're just keeping things simple for the time being. All right, so the final agent that we haven't had a chance to take a look at here is our browser agent. Now, this is the one that's actually going to be handing off our custom free lead magnets, and this is going to be using a custom widget that I could show you really quick here once we jump into OpenAI's widget builder. Basically, our browser agent is going to be pretty similar to our buyer agent, but it's not going to have access to our MCP for booking. Instead, we'll just have our regular vector search, and we'll also have a web search in case the users happen to be looking for any extra information. Now, I've just set this agent up as essentially a concierge for the Sunset Group that's going to help guide browser leads and hopefully convert them into actual leads later on using these free lead magnets that we're about to give them. And of course, also answer any questions they have and provide any helpful information. Once again, we just connected that to another user approval but this time instead of asking for an appointment, we're actually asking if they're interested in checking out some of our free offers for our fall promo. And now if they actually accept, then we'll be able to send this off to our offer agent. And this is really where that widget comes in and can actually start to give us some of these benefits of a custom UI here. Now, once again, we're keeping a very simple prompt here because most of the magic is going to be happening in this offer output here, which instead of having text or JSON, as we've explored throughout this workflow, I actually have it set to a widget, which is going to be connected to our chat kit. And in case you guys want to see it again, this is essentially what we're looking at here in terms of our widget output. I have 3 fixed offers that I'm offering to all users. And remembering back to our demo, the agent did mess this up a little bit just because it's not fully developed. But again, just as a proof of concept, this widget gives us a very easy and direct way to offer value to people coming in here using any one of these free offers that they could just simply accept and then download for free. But if you want to add your own widget here or actually experiment with the way that I created this one, for this specific widget, all I did was ask the system to create a clean UI for a widget that's going to be presenting users with 3 options for 3 custom offers that our agency is actually giving out to people. And once you actually have your widget here, you can simply hit this download button in the upper right corner. And then once you jump back into Agent Builder, you'll simply be able to upload this brand new widget here and actually be able to interact with it on the agent interface like this. But in my opinion, this widget builder is one of the strong points of OpenAI's AgentKit so far. This ability to add custom UIs during our chat is actually a massive feature here. And this is something that has a huge leg up on N8N, which isn't able to do something like this, at least not easily. And in terms of client projects, this really gives us a lot more options in terms of how we can get users to interact with our agents and how customizable and premium we can really make our experiences feel to people. All right, so we went through a live demo here. We looked behind the scenes of how this agent actually works. And I also took you through a little bit of how I built this agent and got everything up and running here. So now it's time for the verdict itself. Can we actually use this for real life production cases in business, or is this just another fancy little hype tool? I think this current version of Agent Builder is only appropriate for very simple projects that require very straightforward outputs and where you can get away with using basic tools like vector searches, web searches, and you don't need to connect to too many external tools or MCP servers because that'll really add a lot of complexity on top of what we're building here. And in the cases where we do need to rely on a lot of external APIs and tools, because we would have to connect into a platform like N8N anyways, in a lot of these cases it would simply make sense to just build out the entire project in N8N itself, just so we can keep everything as centralized and clean as possible, both on the development side and on the business side. But a couple of the ways where I think Agent Builder really shines here is with how simple and easy this UI is to set up here. And to be honest with you, when it comes to setting up each one of these agents here, you can't beat how simple and easy it is to drop in prompts, to change out your models whenever you want to, and also add some of these custom tools with only a few clicks. And although Agent Builder is pretty basic when it comes down to it, I think the concept behind it is a huge step in the AI space. And as we move into the future where automation gets easier and AI agents become more accessible to everyone, this is potentially the start of that new era here, and we're just starting to scratch the surface of what we can expect in the coming years here. Another area where I think Agent Builder shines is its ability to add these guardrails here. In N8N, you would have to really consider adding this as a separate step within your workflow, and that definitely adds to the complexity of what you're building, especially if you're trying to filter out things like PII, if you're trying to manage your moderations and prevent jailbreak attempts, then traditionally this would have been a pretty significant task on its own. But Agent Builder literally makes this effortless to add that extra layer of security to your agents, which I think is a huge step forward for us. And point number 3, where I really think Agent Builder stands out, is this feature where it allows us to use custom widgets like this. In my experience with client projects, having any level of customizability like this, as well as these custom UIs, would have taken a very significant level of development time in the past. But now, because we can spin up these quick little demos and actually have live information showing up on them, can really take our client projects and our business use cases to a whole nother level. A lot of these features are pretty basic right now. I do have quite a few ideas for how things could be better in the future. I don't think OpenAI is by any means stopping here when it comes to Agent Builder. I would predict that we're going to see a lot more updates being rolled out to this in the future that really increase things like its customizability, how versatile these widget features can be, and also how many tools we can have within Agent Builder itself to really build more complex use cases that really move the line when it comes to generating revenue and saving time and other similar tasks. So in the end, I think N8N still wins for the time being when it comes to flexibility and building complex use cases. I could definitely see a reality where tools like Agent Builder have an edge. While I personally stick to more flexible tools like N8N for the time being, I'm definitely excited for what the future holds when it comes to tools like Agent Builder here. That's about all I wanted to cover in this video today. And since everybody's been jumping on Agent Builder and kind of going crazy over how cool it is, I thought I'd bring things back down to earth and show you guys a real production style use case and how it connects to some of the actual projects I'm working on and whether I would use something like this in the real world for an actual client. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. It might have ended up being a bit longer than usual, but if you stayed all the way to the end, I would appreciate you dropping a like and a subscribe to let me know you enjoyed this one. So if you own a business or you're in real estate and you're interested in exploring AI more or building out custom systems for yourself that really move the needle in your business, then hit my second link down below to book a one-on-one call with my team and I to actually see what AI can do for your business. Or if you're interested in learning more about AI adoption, then you can hit link number 1 and join my free community where I offer exclusive courses, Q&As with me, and a growing community of other people who are in the AI space and making moves for you to actually network with. But in the meantime, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you got some value out of this one. And with all of that said, I'll catch you all in the next one.